Hey guys, having a good Monday morning. Strike week one was pretty rough. It is December 1st. Fuck, that's alarming. We have 31 months or 31 days until it is 2026. That is fucking insane. Anyways, I don't want to talk too much. I just want to talk about a model that I figured out. Sorry if I look chopped as fuck. I just woke up. It's a model to hit any goal. And I found out this might change, but so far this is what I could see. There are three very the most fundamental things you can ever think of to hit a goal. There's three of them, okay? Yeah, I'm not gonna give context, I'm just gonna explain it. The three of them are incentive, clarity, and inputs, okay? Now, yeah, obviously, what the fuck do these mean? Because you definitely don't know. Incentive, because it's my model, right? I'm not saying you don't know what the word means. What the incentive really means is the why. The goal itself, it's the goal itself. It's the drive, and these fundamental things are so fundamental that there's even more fundamental things under them that aren't as fundamental. So, for example, having a goal is pretty fundamental, right? But the incentive is like your goal, your drives, the reason you work. It could be coming from something negative too. It doesn't have to be a positive thing. It could also just be an actual tangible incentive, like a fucking reward you. It is what gets you to actually do the goal. Because it is fundamentally true that if there is no reason to do something, you will not do it. Unless, actually, yeah, because if you make the argument that if someone holds you at gunpoint and then you'll do the goal, that's actually an incentive, not getting shot, right? So it is fundamentally true that if there is no reason to do something that is maybe even a little bit honestly, probably not even a little challenging, probably just anything, then you will not do it. We walk because we want to not be static. We eat because we're hungry. We drink because we're thirsty. We sleep because we're tired. We don't do anything for no reason. We just don't. Even the little shit you don't understand, you do it for some fucking reason, which is a crazy thing to realize. That's incentive, okay? And later I'm going to explain why, but I'll get to that. The second thing is clarity. Now, this is a bit tricky because you might definitely not know what I'm talking about here. What I mean is clarity is simply having the perspective required to hit the goal, or more specifically, having the perspective required to see the incentive and have the incentive allow you to hit the goal as well, or move in that direction, and also apply the inputs. But the inputs will come later. I'll explain that. Which the inputs are really fucking simple. But clarity is where it gets a bit tricky. It's adopting the perspective and the identity required to achieve the goal. Now, you probably guessed it if you're a bit smart. The thing under clarity is mindset. And so people think mindset's the fundamental thing. No, it's clarity. Because there's a lot of mindset things that won't help you for your goal. Honestly, they just won't. I'm not going to go deeper into that. But clarity could be... Actually, the incentive is a part of clarity as well. It kind of goes hand in hand. Having the goal and having clarity about the goal and the incentive, that could be considered mindset, a part of clarity as well. But the most fundamental thing that goes under clarity is mindset. But mindset is such a big, fundamental meta topic that it's hard to break it down. But if you want to dumb it down, it is the perspective required to hit the goal. And the reason this matters too is because I don't care how hardworking you are or whatever, and you might even understand exactly what is required to hit the goal, but if you do not have the perspective required, you will not hit it. For example, if you know that you have to make 100,000 cold calls for a marketing agency, no matter what, and you will make 30K or whatever, you're not going to do it. Even if you understand that, you're just not going to do it if you do not have the perspective required. And an example of this would be if you think that all marketing agencies are scams, which is a bad perspective, that is definitely not conducive to hitting the goal, you're just not gonna do it. I don't care how hardworking you are. You're just not. Just not. Same thing with the gym. If you think that everyone's gonna judge you at the gym, you're probably not gonna go to the gym. Even if you know that if you do 1,000 workouts, you will get buff, you're just not gonna do it. Okay? That's clarity. The third thing is very simple. It's inputs. The way to define this one is very simple. Inputs is simply all the actions, the tangible actions required to achieve the goal. And you could argue that clarity is a part of inputs, because adopting the right mindset is an input itself. But to put it simply, inputs is all the actual actions that you have to take to hit the goal. So for me, it might be 1,000 videos. For an agency, it might be 100,000 cold calls and like 1,000 sales calls. And these are just like inflated ass numbers, because like if you're trying to hit X amount of money for an agency, let's just say you're trying to hit like 6K a month. If you do 1,000 cold calls, you're probably gonna get there. You know, like you're probably gonna get there. It's an inflated number, but and like with working out, if you eat at a deficit for 2 years, like a real fucking deficit, and you work out at least 3 times a week, you're probably gonna look really good. Like, it's just simple. Okay. Now here's where it gets really fucking interesting. Okay. It's that to hit a goal that matters to you. I know that's a general thing, but I'm not trying to be too analytical here, like a little bit of an autist. I want to keep it a little bit more human. To hit any goal that's worth hitting, or whatever you want to call it, a hard goal, a difficult goal, the interesting thing is that you cannot miss one of these things. You need all three. And I'm telling you that like 100%. Like it is impossible to hit a goal if you're missing even one of these things. And I'll explain why. And I was thinking about this and I was like, dude, that's really interesting. The incentive, I already explained it, but I'll explain everything. If you don't have the incentive, and I'll explain why you can have the other two and still not hit it. I'll put it like that. So I'll give you an example. So with the incentive, right? Even if you have the perspective required and you know the inputs to hit the goal, if you don't have the incentive, there's no reason for you to do it. And so you're not going to do it. If you just drank, like I'll put it like this. If you just ate a Thanksgiving dinner and you feel like throwing up, and let's just say theoretically the goal, the inputs, were to eat like 5 hamburgers in one day, that same day, and you just knew, like, you had the mindset for it or whatever, you knew that was the thing, you're not gonna eat 5 fucking hamburgers. As opposed to if you're starving and you know that, you have the perspective and you know the inputs are eat 5 hamburgers, you're probably gonna eat 5 hamburgers. And that's an example of incentive. It's just a need to do something. You need to, like, incentive is a subjective thing that you must create. I'll give you an example. For me to have for me to like basically literally 10x my chance of landing, a woman that would be very desirable for me, losing 20-30 pounds would fucking like 10x that possibility. Right now, I'm smart. I'm getting better at being kind because I've been fucking alone. So I'm getting my social skills are pretty rough. I'm very much of an autist right now, but I'm smart. I have a good vision. I have very good, I have very good intention, and I feel like I want to do good things, which is like a lot of the battle, to be honest with you. And I care about people. Now, I'm very fat at the moment, okay? And so knowing that, the incentive for me is that if I don't do this, then I'm gonna make my life like 10 times harder. That's a pretty strong incentive to lose weight. If I didn't have the incentive, like let's just say I did like pull everyone I talked to, right? There would be no incentive because it wouldn't make a difference. And so I just would not get myself to do it. So that is why incentive is required. Because even if you know everything, you're just not going to do it. And if you don't do it, you don't hit the goal. All right, let's get into clarity. This is a bit of a trickier one to explain, but I'll get into it. So even if you do have the incentive and you know the inputs, okay, it's actually a very common one. This is like one of the most common ones ever. Because everyone wants to hit the goal. Like, everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to be rich, all this shit. Or like insert common goal. And if we're being honest with ourselves, we know what we got to do. I'll use weight loss as another example. It's so simple. By the way, sorry for my fucking hair. I need to cut it. Weight loss is so simple, bro. Eat at a deficit. Work out all the muscle groups you can. You will get fit. And I think this is actually my problem because I have this too. I think what I need to do personally is just I need to like actually realize the incentive. Like, I know the incentive logically, but I don't feel it emotionally. And so sometimes, by the way, my flaw is overeating. Okay, that's the reason I'm where I'm at. I don't feel that incentive to hit the goal when I'm about to overeat. The fucking, what you call it? The impulse will override the incentive. And so that means my incentive is not very strong. I need to like really like do some like deep work on myself. Now, besides that, this is a very common one. I'll use weight loss because so many fat people want to lose weight. Trust me, people in America know that if you eat at a deficit and you work out, you're gonna get fit. So it's definitely not an I don't know what to do issue. And it's definitely not a I don't want to not get fat issue. Like, trust me, people are like about to die and shit. Now, clarity is hard to get because it requires all this voodoo shit that everyone doesn't like because it makes them feel dumb. And they feel like they're doing too much and they feel like they should just be David Goggins and just act, which is just fucking stupid because it obviously doesn't work for them. Okay, so let me explain why. Actually, so you can have the incentive, you can know the inputs. So why aren't you doing it? Well, for you to perform inputs, you need to act in according to what you believe. Humans don't do that. Humans do not act in according to what they don't believe. It's called cognitive dissonance, and it's a spectrum, so it could be small or large. But dude, I even had a little bit of cognitive dissonance like yesterday, and I wanted to punch someone, bro. I was so frustrated, bro. So imagine a bigger factor of that, which I'll give you the answer. If it's bigger, you just don't do it. Like, if you're required to do something and it has a large amount of cognitive dissonance, you just won't do it. And by the way, it means that if you know you're supposed to do something, but you don't believe it's when you act in according to what you don't believe. So if I don't believe in wanting to be fat and someone told me to eat more food, I'm not going to do that. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in eating more fucking food. Even though ironically I overeat. But you get what I'm saying. Like, I'll give you an example. I'll use a religion as an example. Fuck it, right? If you told a Christian person to fucking burn the cross, they're like, fuck no, I don't, like, what the hell are you telling me to do? You know, because, I mean, I honestly don't know about the religion, but I'm assuming that they wouldn't want to burn the cross. I would assume that's a bad thing. I might be wrong, though, so that might be insensitive, but I'm using a very extreme example. Like, they would not do it because I'm pretty sure they would not believe to fucking hate on their own religion. You know, they want to love it, right? They want to respect. That's why they're doing it, hopefully. You get I'm not going to break it down. But yeah, that's the fundamental thing. Humans do not act in according to what they don't believe. They only act in according to what they believe. So therefore, if your beliefs are not in according to your goal, you are not going to do the inputs again. You guys see a pattern here? The incentive and the clarity are basically, they're either going to help you achieve your inputs or they're going to not help you achieve your inputs. The inputs are the most basic part of the equation. The common denominators of the equation, or independent variable? I don't know. The variable that changes everything, person to person, is the incentive and the clarity. Because, bro, we're in 2025 here. About to head in 2026. We got AI and this shit. Everyone knows what to do to hit their goals. Unless you're stupid, bro. You can figure it out with ChatGPT in like 5 seconds. I promise. Unless you want to do something crazy big, you might have to think about it. But like, bro, most goals, most simple ass goals, which is make money. Bro, honestly, like most people don't even have this. Most people don't make money with freedom. Most people are not in shape, including me. Most people don't know what they want in life. You can figure all that out in like one day. Like it's that depressingly simple. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, the clarity and the incentive are the things that the reason that those are the fucking monsters right there. The inputs are so easy to figure out. But yeah, okay. So yeah, which by the way, a little lesson here as well to give you some context. Beliefs are just things that you deem to be true, because there is no such thing as objective reality. There is only such thing as subjective reality, and I'll prove it to you right now, because there would not be a reality if there was no one to perceive it. It would be nothing, right? It's like the fourth dimension. We can't perceive that, and so it does exist. However, it does not exist to us because we can't perceive it. So if there's nothing to perceive, then it might as well not exist, you know? And so therefore, there is only subjective reality, only, okay? And therefore, what you believe is your reality, okay? So what you believe to be true, if I believe the sun is up, the sun is fucking up. If I believe that sun is just something brought by the government, in my reality it is, because I will behave in that way, okay? But I won't get deeper into that. But what I'm trying to say here, guys, is that your perspective is basically reality. And so if your perspective is the wrong one, which your goal basically dictates what's right and wrong. If yours is the wrong one, then there is a 0% chance you will perform the inputs and hit the goal. Which is why it's so hard, because changing beliefs is not easy. I haven't even changed beliefs yet about things that should matter, like losing weight. Obviously, I'll use that very obvious example because I am shirtless. But let me just wrap it up. There is so much I can get. There is so much I can deep into this, but I'm just trying to give the model. I'm just trying to explain the model. So if you know the incentive and you know the inputs, you don't have clarity, then you will simply, you're not going to see, how can I say this, bro? You're just not going to do the inputs because you're not going to have beliefs. I'll put it like this, right? Let's say you do have the wrong perspective. The reason you wouldn't perform the inputs is because you would not have the perspective required to justify doing the inputs. That is the most fundamental way I can explain that, okay? And that might sound like an incentive. That might sound like the incentive thing. It's not, actually. I'll give an example. So, again, if you have to do cold calls and you believe that cold calling is bad, then the reason you wouldn't justify it is because you're not going to do something you think is bad. Same thing how if you think that everyone in the gym is evil, that they're going to judge you or whatever, you're not going to justify going to the gym. You're just not. It just does not work like that. You're not going to put yourself in harm on purpose if you fundamentally believe it's bad, right? Because why are you going to go to the gym if you believe everyone's evil? Like, you're just not. But the thing is, it's also a belief, so you don't have to believe that. You could just choose to believe that everyone's good. And then if you do believe that, then you're going to feel like going to the gym. One more example, boys. If you think that college is a big fucking waste of time and low-key a horrible model, which what I think is, surprisingly, very surprisingly, right? Then you're probably going to have actions that lead to you not being in college. I dropped out. We just act in according to a belief. So if you don't have the perspective, like what I'm trying to make a point here is that your perspective is everything. All you have as a human being is your perspective, if you think about it. I'll give one more tidbit to explain how important it is. Okay, so Basically, what I'm trying to say is that your perspective equals your life, and I'm about to explain how in real quick. So your perspective dictates how you see things. The way you see things dictates the options that you perceive in life, and the options you perceive in life determines your decisions, and your decisions determine your actions, and your actions determine your life. It's really that fucking simple. You cannot bypass the system and just change your actions. It does not work like that. If that was true, then everyone would be fit, everyone would be rich, everyone would have everything. It just does not work like that. It's more complicated, okay? It's not complicated, it's more, it's a bit more tricky, I should say. Okay, but that's that, okay? That was like the bulk of the video, if you're wondering. The inputs is so simple. But that is why, hopefully I explained it better, hopefully I explained it good enough. That is why you can have the incentive, you can have the inputs, you can know the inputs, but you're not going to be able to perform them because you do not have the perspective required to justify doing them in other ways, in a sense where you see them as good, if that makes sense. Because all you need the perspective for is for everything to align that the inputs are good. So if you have a false belief of people judging you, XYZ, then you're not going to justify doing it because you don't believe it to be good for you. And so you're not going to do it. Okay? All right. But it goes deeper. You can't just take that at face value and just apply it. I'm trying to explain the model. The last thing is inputs. So if you have the incentive and you have the perspective required at the goal, which are just a bunch of beliefs that surround the inputs, but you don't know the inputs or you know the wrong inputs, then you're not going to hit the goal. And also, if you don't take action, you're not going to hit the goal because you're not going to apply inputs and take cause into effect. Another thing that won't happen is if you mistake the inputs, if you think the inputs are something else, you're not going to hit the goal. Inputs are so simple. They're just actions, right? So if you don't take the actions, you don't know the actions, or you apply the wrong actions, you won't hit the goal. That's pretty simple. Tricky part is the clarity and the incentive. So that's the model I came up with. I think it's pretty handy dandy. I doubt I'll use it though, because I seem to always just think of this extravagant shit and never apply it, which is funny. But yeah, I'm gonna get to work now. I'm already behind schedule. I just wanted to talk about this, but yeah, I'm gonna go. See you guys. Bye.